We'll ask everyone to please be seated. We're about to begin the services for Mr. Craig Newman. I want to welcome everyone here at the chapel, as well as the many people that are logged in from our live stream. Just a gentle reminder for those of you folks here in the chapel, if you have a cell phone with you, please place it in the silent mode or turn it off completely. That would be appreciated. Officiating today is Rabbi Evan Moffick from Macomb Solel Lakeside.
Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey. From childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. These words, which were penned by Rabbi Alvin Fine, really express the Jewish philosophy of life and of death. And they tell us that we come here in grief, in profound grief. But we also come here as much as we can with a measure of gratefulness. Grateful that God blessed the world with the life of Craig Newman. Our Jewish funeral service is fairly simple, consists of some reading, some psalms, some reflections, and concludes with the El Mole Rachamim prayer. We'll continue now with the words of the 23rd Psalm. If you know them, please feel free to join me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. At the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember Craig Newman, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. when we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. As long as we live, Craig too shall live, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. Now I'd like to invite up Craig's two sons, Jason and Brad, who will each share their memories.
Dad, I love you so much, and you're my best friend, and I have all these memories to write down and talk about, but at the end of the day, I was just sitting here thinking, the best times with my dad were literally just ordering a Luminati's pizza, watching a Hawks game, sitting on the couch, right? It wasn't even the big trips to Maui or California and all that stuff coming out for the weekend, doing all those big things, going out to the fancy restaurants, and it doesn't matter. What I miss most is just hanging out with them, going to get disgusting food at Chicago Red Hot Ranch, and just chilling in his energy. And he, it's obviously he's out of his pain, and I'm happy for him. I saw him earlier, and he looks peaceful. He's with his best buddies who passed on previously. He's with Amadeus. He's in good hands now, and he's looking down on us. And I'll tell you, he's definitely here. He's speaking to us. I could feel him. He's giving us signs, and he's sharing his love, and he's happy, and he's out of pain now, and that's all that matters. And I just want to share real quickly, I'm so grateful that my dad and my wife, Valentina, she's in Italy right now, but I think the most light in my dad's life in the last year was with my wife. You ever see the movie, I was telling someone earlier, but you ever see the movie Scent of a Woman where Al Pacino's driving around the Ferrari before he dies? Valentina sent me a video yesterday of my dad driving around Costco on a scooter. I swear to you, it was the same exact look on the face of pure bliss and joy, looking at olives, a lifetime supply of olives. He was that happy. And it's amazing how much we are alike. I mean, just getting in his car today, I'm like, we are so the same. It's freaking scary and beautiful. And, I'm not going to go on all these memories and stuff. I just want to say that he'll always be with us. Let's try to make today a beautiful day. Obviously, it's sad and grieving, but let's celebrate the amazing human being he was. My father was such a good human being. He was the most honest man to a fault. You guys, when I called him, a couple weeks ago, I was like, this woman's coming over. She's going to look after you. You need help. He goes, yeah, I had to reschedule. I go, why? And he told her he had rehab, but I knew he wasn't going to rehab, and he was so honest. He couldn't even tell me he was going to rehab. He was so honest. He's like, I just got to reschedule. He had such integrity. He was such a good man. Every person, every dog, every baby he saw on the street or at Costco, he would talk to. People loved him. Even when you go to I was going to call the people from the Red Hot Ranch. I'm going to go there for lunch next week and probably puke on myself, but I'm going to... Even walking in there, everyone lit up behind the counter. They love this guy. And I don't think people realize, I'm sure a lot of people do who knew my dad for years, but my dad was one of the funniest human beings of all time. I mean, in his prime, I'm looking at all these pictures, freaking stud. But so funny. I mean, the jokes he would make, I had them written down, but I'm not going to get into them because it's a little inappropriate. It's nice to see you again, right? Didn't I just see you 2 weeks ago? That's crazy, man. Holy cow. Anyway, enjoy the moments on the couch that you almost think are the routine and boring things. Those are the moments. It's not freaking going to, the fancy fish place in Maui. It's sitting on a couch doing nothing and just daily routines. And last thing I will say, as much as he loved everyone here, my brother and I know this is going to make us stronger, and Marcus is here. Marcus, my dog, and my dad were besties. I used to leave Marcus at my dad's when I went to the gym for 3 hours, and they used to hang out. The reason my dad got up in the morning was for Brea and Lainie. Brea and Lainie, my dad loves them so much. So let's celebrate his life and everything. And I love you guys so much. And later on tonight, we'll share those jokes that my dad shared because it's not appropriate here. Okay? Thank you so much. I love you, Dad, so much. And rest in peace.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today. I can't even begin to tell you how many people have reached out to me over the last several days to express their condolences between the phone calls, the texts we've received, the Facebook posts, emails, and so on. I've heard from people that I haven't spoken to in decades that remember my dad, and so many of them told me of so many memories and instances that evoked so many emotions in me that I didn't even remember. It was incredible. And then I went into my dad's phone, and I was amazed to see how many friends and colleagues from over the years that he still kept in touch with, whether it was from the shoe business or one of the other various jobs he had over the years. Several of the people I didn't even know, but there were recent texts and phone calls, and people reached out to me, and they all had the same thing to say: what a great guy he was, what a nice person he was, how great he was to work with, how proud he was of Brad and I and his granddaughters. And it's been therapeutic to talk about it and celebrate his life with people. My father loved people, and he loved bullshitting with people. Whether it was one of the customers in the shoe business that he had, a mailman, a random person at Costco, Craig Newman could bullshit with anyone. He loved his friends. He loved my friends that are here, my best friends, Nava, Stock, Missourian. I see Ben there. John Missourian flew in from Florida for this. He loved all my friends. He loved Brad's friends. He loved Trina. He loved her family. He loved Marcus. He loved Milo. He loved Bubba. He loved Amadeus. There's no one he was more proud of and no one he loved more than my brother and I and his granddaughters. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is look to his Instagram handle, Proud Father and Grandfather, rather. Up until a couple years ago, my father received the benefit of having grandchildren living in the same city as him. And we were lucky to get to see him all the time. And I mean all the time. Papa was there for every important moment from the time each of his granddaughters were born. My mother-in-law, Merle, and brother-in-law, Lee, graciously included him in every holiday and special occasion. And Papa was an integral part of Brea and Lainie's lives, and they loved him dearly. One of his proudest moments was when he witnessed Brea on the bema during her bat mitzvah in February. At the time, I remembered that at my bar mitzvah in December of '87, so if you were there, a lot of you were, you're old. At the time at my bar mitzvah, I remembered that my dad's father was dying of cancer. Some of you remember him, Chuck Newman. And in his speech at my bar mitzvah, my dad mentioned how grateful he was that his dad could be at my bar mitzvah. And I just want you to know, Dad, I felt the exact same way that you could be there. Of all the aforementioned messages I received and posts that I read, it was actually a post by my dad's dear friend, Diane Dobrin's granddaughter, that tore me up the most. And I want to put this in context so you understand. My dad and Diane dated for a period of time. Sorry, Diane, I had to give him credit for that one. During that time, Diane's son and daughter-in-law, Marla, gave birth to two beautiful granddaughters, Jessica and Nicole. And my dad was there from the time they were born, and even after Diane and my father stopped dating, they remained good friends, and they would drive out to Riverwoods at least once a week and see Nicole and Jessica. And my dad had the best time with them always. And this was obviously before I had kids. And Nicole and Jessica now are identical twins. They're 21 years old. They're both in college. They're doing great. And I wanted to put that in context because this is what Nicole Dobrin wrote about my dad, okay? Craigie was genuinely like a grandparent to me growing up. I have the most fond memories of him from my childhood, and I can't remember a time when he wasn't there. He knew how to make me and Jessica laugh, and he was so proud of us. He was so proud of Brea and Lainie, and I would constantly talk about them and what they were up to. It was always very clear that one of his greatest joys in life was being their grandpa. I loved when he would share pictures of them, or we would all go over to their house to play, all of his girls together. I will always remember him as a warm, empathetic, intelligent, and selfless person who undoubtedly made me the person I am today, and is the reason I look back on my childhood so fondly. I will remember him forever. That's what someone else's grandchild wrote about my father. So you can only imagine the bond that he had with my daughters and how he felt about them and the experiences that he had with them. People have asked me what happened. As a result of several surgeries, and quite frankly, his failure to take care of himself, my father's physical health was deteriorating over the last several years, and he wasn't the Craig Newman we all knew and loved. In spite of our pleas, he didn't want to live in a facility or have any assistance, and instead insisted on spending the rest of his life in the comfort of his own home. While I didn't entirely agree with that idea, I now not only respect him for that, but I admire him for it. My dad went out on his own terms with dignity, and I know how important that was to him. There's so many things that I inherited from my father that I can't even begin to mention them all. I inherited my father's love for cars and driving, his love for art, his love for sports, his love for collecting, his love for architecture, his ability to talk to anyone, his strong sense of ethics, and of course, his sick sense of humor. But it's no secret that throughout the years, my father and I endured some rough patches in our relationship, to say the least. When I look back at it now, even in our worst of times, I can take value from our conflicts. Surviving our conflicts made me a stronger person, made me a more effective attorney. It ended up making me a better father and eventually a better husband. One of the things I'm most grateful for in life is that my dad and I were able to discuss these issues over the last few years, and up until the end, our relationship was the best it ever was. I spoke with him almost every day to see how he was doing, even if we just talked for a minute or two. And after every time we spoke, he texted me a heart emoji telling me how appreciative he was of my call. Every time. He loved these emojis. All of his texts were 12 emojis. Even though I'd give anything for one more of those calls, I know there's nothing else I could have said to him that I hadn't already said. And that's one of the most comforting aspects of my father's passing that brings me so much inner peace. He knew how much we all loved him. We made it clear. That's what we do in our family every day, and we got that from him. I love you, Dad.
Such powerful, powerful words, thoughts, sentiments. And in Jewish tradition, there's this story, a legend told about two ships, and they're each near land. One of the ships is going into the harbor, and the other is going out from it. And everyone is cheering the incoming ship, the outgoing ship, like you see in the movies. But the incoming ship is scarcely noticed. And a wise man standing nearby chastised the people's reactions. "Rejoice not," he said, "over the ship that is setting out to sea. For you know not what destiny awaits it, what storms it may encounter, what dangers lurk before it. Rejoice rather over the ship that has reached port safely and brought back all its passengers in peace." It is the way of the world that when a human being is born, everyone rejoices. But when a loved one dies, we all feel sorrow. According to this story, we can also struggle to see it the opposite way. Nobody knows what troubles await the developing child on its journey through life. But when a person has lived a full life, all can take comfort in the knowledge that he has completed his journey successfully. As we just heard, Craig Newman made such a journey through life. It was a journey marked, as I spoke with members of the family, I heard the same word over and over again: integrity, honesty. Somebody who cared for others, cared about keeping his word, and had such a strong sense of ethics and doing the right thing. It was also a life marked by, as we also heard, incredible love for his grandchildren, whom he adored, who were the center of his life. And it was also a life marked by kindness and connection. His people, his customers, co-workers, people who respected his honesty, integrity, and kindness. And in Jewish tradition, the way we honor a loved one, the way we remember them, is by saying the words, Zichrono livracha, may his memory be a blessing. These words convey the purpose of a well-lived life, that all who knew you, all who remember you, all who come after you, look to your life as a blessing, a benediction, and an inspiration. Being a blessing means that you have touched the lives of those you knew and that you have helped them to do the same for others. For everyone here in this chapel, for all those whose lives he touched and who touched his, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of Craig Newman endure among us as an everlasting blessing. God, you give us loved ones and you make them the strength of our life and the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. God, help us to understand that pain and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of a love stronger than death. Though we cry in the anguish of our hearts, may we be like children who know that their parent is near and who cling unafraid to the trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is most precious to us to you and your keeping. As we rise now and say the words, the El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachar Shechina, Im Kidoshim V'Techorim Kazohar Hakim Asirim, and Nishmat Craig Newman, Shahalach La'olamo, Baharachamim Yasdi Rehu Beseter Kanafav La'olamim, Vayitzur B'Tzur Chaim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, Vayanuach Bashalom Amishkavo V'Nomar, Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our beloved father, grandfather, loved one, friend, Craig Newman, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and may his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. For you, the eternal God, are his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen.
Please be seated for a few brief announcements. The interment will take place at Shalom Memorial Park, located in Arlington Heights, and our procession will form in the parking lot. And please keep in mind two important features while in procession. First is to use your bright headlights as well as your emergency flashers at all times while in procession, and stay as close as you can to the car in front of you to avoid large gaps. The Shiva will be observed at the Newman residence in Highland Park, 290 Oakland Drive, following the interment today until 8 p.m. If you need the address, it's listed in the folders you received, and it's also on our website for those of you viewing online. The following people have been selected to serve as pallbearers, so when I call your name, please step forward. Brad and Jason Newman, Lee Cherney, Mike Kahn, Chris Nava, John Misserlin, Matt Stock. Everyone, please rise as we escort the casket from the chapel.
Right behind me. Right, go behind me.
Folks, if you're going to the cemetery, please go directly to your cars.